She was a previous tenant of mine. She was a terrible tenant. Excuse me. 12 months, count them up. January, February, March, you name it, she was late for it. And I waived the fees for 3 months for her.
Girl, you are not turning down a penny.
So he basically stole a rental car from me.
That's a lie.
And
I'd be in jail if I stole it. He loaned me the car. I didn't know it was a rental. Didn't know if I was dealing with the mafia or if I'd have to make some trips over the border.
Do you have good connections with the mafia?
No.
Plaintiff Donna Jackson claims she rented a house to the defendant who paid rent late, nearly every month, and left the house totally trashed. She's suing for $2,076. Defendant Kenitha Gipson claims she was up to date on the rent and didn't get to properly clean the house because she was only given 2.5 weeks to get out.
Case number 160 on the docket, Jackson versus Gipson.
We have the plaintiff, Ms. Jackson. You are suing your former tenant, Kenitha, is it?
Yes, Kenitha.
Yes, Kenitha Gipson, for $2,076 for unpaid rent and damages. Why don't you tell me your story?
Your Honor, she was a previous tenant of mine for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
But I was a bad tenant.
She was a terrible tenant. The last
for 2 years.
For 12
you allowed me
months.
to stay in your home.
Okay.
For 2 years.
Excuse me.
Okay, she was a tenant for 2 years? And how did it start out?
She basically was trying to rent a property from me, and the first year was okay. But the second year, 12 months, count them up. January, February, March, you name it, she was late for it. And the only time she wasn't late is because I waived the fees. And I waived the fees for 3 months for her because she always give me this long sob story.
You never waived any
all
fees.
of your late fees that you currently have.
Girl, you are not turning down a penny.
Okay, so you're saying that she was late in payment some of the months?
Yes, for 12 months, Judge, 12 months, Your Honorable Judge. January, you count them up, and left the home in a huge disarray and damages. I actually had to hire my witness here to clean up behind her because she left the home in just a major disarray.
How many months are you saying that she didn't pay rent?
I have proof. 12 months, Judge. 12 months.
Wait,
There's no way
she didn't pay any rent for 12 months?
She paid the rent, but it was late every month.
Which one is it? Did I pay or did I not pay?
So it says here in your complaint that you are suing her for unpaid rent. It comes to $796.
That's
right?
including the 1 month that she didn't pay before she left and the late fee that was attached. I didn't waive that month.
All right, so that's $796. Okay.
Where's my security deposit?
I will show you all that.
Where's
the way you left my
and you're also
damages,
suing for damages. We'll get to that.
loss.
Okay. Why did you decide to leave?
Okay, it started the previous month. She stated that she was sending a contractor to the home. I kept asking her if she was gonna sell the residence, and she never would say no. I even talked with her about renewing my lease for another year.
I wasn't gonna let her renew no lease the way she was
all
doing.
right. Okay.
Okay.
You were there for how many years?
I was there for 2 years.
You were there for 2 years. When did you get notice that you had to leave?
I got 2.5 weeks before.
2.5 weeks before?
Yes, 2.5 weeks.
Let me see what you have. Okay, whoa.
She was aware of it.
You're saying, when are you saying you gave her notice?
September 15th,
How is she going to give me a notice on a lease
And
ending?
it's signed.
On September 15th, 2018,
She knew it was not
you
renewing.
signed this, you sent this. This says it's a warning letter for a lease or rental agreement violation. You must pay your rent on or before the first day of each month. Cash is not permitted. If you don't pay the rent on the 5th day of the month, you'll get an initial late charge of $100. If you don't pay the rent on time, you'll be delinquent and all remedies under the lease contract will be authorized. And then you tell her that if she's going to be leaving, she has to give you a 60-day notice of termination. Okay, so in fairness, this is not an official eviction notice. You're just telling her, under the lease, you have to pay your rent, and if not, we've got remedies. But this is not saying you have to be out on a certain date. Okay, that's all I was asking. So the official date that you got the notice for when you had to be out, like by January 30th, was
January 31st.
Of 2019?
Yes, sir.
And that notice you got when?
Probably 2.5 weeks.
Okay, so about 2.5 weeks before, you got a notice because she was upset, which she would have a right to do if you still owe rent, and if it was late, she has a right to be upset about that.
Okay.
And so you got notice you had to leave by the end of the month, 2.5 weeks prior to the time that you had to leave. Okay, I just wanted to set those facts.
But she lived out her lease.
Who lives in your place?
It's me, my 3 children, and my spouse.
Now, so you moved out. So you are suing, number one, for rent for that last month and the late fee, and that's why it comes to $796 because the monthly rent is $646.
Correct.
You add $150 to that, the late fee, so you get $796. I get that part. Then you are suing for damages.
Yes.
Do you have a list of the damages?
Yes, and I also got pictures as well of what the house looked out before and after when she
Okay.
left. That's the before pictures.
But where's that?
The after pictures are right here.
Okay.
This is
And
what she
then I
left
wanna-
my house with right here. I mean, look at the sink. She had trash in the sinks. Look at the
Okay.
stove. This is a vent that was
Change
unclean.
the locks on the premises.
The
How
locks
can I
were
get
not
in to
changed.
clean or straighten anything? And you need to take into account that I have children. The day that we were supposed to meet, I have to pick my kids up from school. I have to get them situated. I have to do all these things. And she actually changed the date that we were originally supposed to meet, and she even knows that we end up getting thrown behind because it snowed. And in the state of Alabama, they're shutting everything down.
Nothing happened. She was able to leave in an adequate amount of time. Believe me, she was. She was there at the house the day that she was supposed to clean up.
Okay, if you would step forward, please.
Well, I was a cleaning person for the
Right.
house, for the property. I've cleaned for Ms. Jackson before. I've been in business for 6 years. I've cleaned commercial and residential properties. I can always tell when there's a renter situation if the tenant wants their security deposit back by the way the premises is left. When I usually get to the job, I assess the damages to see if I need assistance or anything to help me clean. This particular situation, since she was getting ready to sell the home, I knew I needed assistance with cleaning the home because it was a mess. The kitchen was covered from top to bottom with grease. There were certain things that I would not clean, and I told Ms. Jackson that I would not clean those items, that they had to be replaced. The stove was one. It was covered in grease. The toilet seats had cigarette burns or burn holes in them.
Oh,
or
no.
stains, and I would not
she
clean
did
those.
Pop up. Look, she would set up for her to come and look at the home. So
Okay.
if that was going on, there's no way.
How much did you charge for?
$400.
$400. Okay.
Because I had to bring in an additional person to actually clean the home.
I got
That's
it.
your fault you
Okay.
couldn't do the job.
Thank you very much. All right. There's no question about the rent and the late fee. Because whenever you live in a place, while you're living there, the rent is due. I get that. So now I go to the next item that you're asking for is on damages, and you have handed me the list of the damages.
Yes.
So the only things which I think you are entitled to in terms of the damages are, number one, the $400 that you paid her. And then I noticed these repairs, the window repair in the back bedroom, the front door window repair, and the missing 2 keys and original lock. That comes to $375. So the repairs come to $375, the cleaning comes to $400, so that comes to damages of $775. What you are entitled to is the rent, the late fee, which comes to $796, the $775 in damages, which I just outlined, which comes to $1,571. So I find for the plaintiff in the sum of $1,571.
I'm glad it's over with. She was a terrible tenant, and I'm just glad it's over with and done. If I could change anything, it would be not leasing to her at all, letting her be a rental. So I learned a lot from this process.
She went in there with several lies, and she just wasn't telling the truth about the whole incident. If I was a bad tenant, she would not have came in my home, sat, watched TV with me, allowed her son to come in the home and play with my kids. So for her, she's just lying.
Plaintiff Michael Wright claims the defendant hasn't repaid a cash loan and took off with his rental car. He's suing for $2,000. Defendant Clinton Tolbert claims the money was a gift and that he had the plaintiff's permission to use his car. So he says he owes nothing.
Case number 133 on the docket, Wright versus Tolbert.
Okay. The plaintiff, Mr. Wright, you are suing the defendant, Mr. Tolbert, for $2,000 for money owed.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm suing this man because he's a liar and a thief. Initially, we were introduced through a family friend due to my sister's wedding, so...
That's not true.
So anyway, the point is that out of meeting him through that connection, through family, I assumed that it would be something more trustworthy that would be okay for me to, do a loan like this with him as per our
How did the
verbal
loan
agreement.
come about?
He mentioned that he was in need of some money, so I was actually in a position where I could loan him the money. Had a
So it
verbal
was
agreement
the
with
other
him.
person that said, who is this?
My uncle.
Oh, your uncle, okay. So your uncle says to you, he knows this, I guess you know his uncle.
Yes, through
Oh,
work.
okay. So uncle says to you, there's this guy I work with, nice guy, but he needs some money?
Exactly. And so we had a verbal agreement that he would repay the loan when he could, and so I made the
Was
decision
it
to
a
loan him.
lump sum loan or?
Initially, it was just $500, but it kind of became, it snowballed into up to $2,000 because he came back to me like I was some sort of ATM.
The first time he asked you for $500, and what did you say?
Well, I said, sure, if you repay it, within a timely manner, I have no problem doing that.
Okay, and then when was the next time?
Maybe a few days later, within the
Oh, a
same
few
week.
days later, he
Yeah.
says he wants.
He came back for another $200 and then another $200 after that, and he agreed to pay me back, but
So
has yet
all
to do
these
so.
times, from the first time he asked you to the last time he asked you for money, was what, a 1 month period, a 2 month
It was
period?
approximately
That's
just,
a lie.
it was about half of a month actually, just a couple weeks like that.
And what else?
The straw that broke the camel's back for me was that I recently rented a car for myself. And the reason why this is relevant is because he decided that took it upon himself that it might be a good idea for him to just take the rental car without my permission, which is, from my understanding, is theft. So he basically stole
That's
a rental
lie,
car
too.
from me.
That's a lie.
And
I'd
that,
be in jail if I stole it.
well, you're lucky I didn't report you.
Wait, so you rented a car, and you're saying he took the car?
Right, right.
How? Did he come into your house?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you invite him into your house?
I assume so because.
I mean, you're not saying he broke.
I mean, he
Well,
invited
you
himself
know
is
it-
the point. It was late, like later in the afternoon, and I
How
took a
did you
nap.
get in the house? And I'm going to let
I
you.
knocked on the door and he answered.
And he answered.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got up from your nap.
I must have been out of it, but it wasn't like he broke into the house. But what he did take was the car without permission, and the reason why this matters is because it resulted in a lot of fees and stuff that I now still currently owe the rental car company, and I have proof right here.
Did you drive this car? We won't talk
did.
whether
I
it's
did, Your Honor.
thievery at this
I did,
point.
yes.
So you did. He had a rented car. You went over one day.
Unbeknownst
stole
to
the
me, it was
car.
a rental.
You what?
Unbeknownst to me, I didn't know it was a rental
And you asked him, can I borrow your car?
for work.
He's saying,
He never asked me, Your Honor.
you never asked. But you took the keys
Yes,
and you took the car where?
to work.
Oh, you took the car to work.
Yeah, I had it for a couple days.
Wow.
He loaned me the car. I didn't know it was a rental. He didn't say it was a rental car.
Normally, at the end of the day, when you come back home, you return the car.
I told him that I was gonna have it for a few days.
This isn't true. He stole the
that
car. I
was-
didn't loan him the car at all. That wasn't a part of the agreement. And
How
I
did
have
this
the,
end
the
up?
terms from the car rental company. If the bailiff wants to.
Yeah, I
come
want to
present
see
this
that. Okay, so you rented the car for how long?
Just 2 days, I believe it says right there at the top.
Can I tell my side of the story?
Yes.
So I worked with his uncle. One day I was having a vent sesh talking about my personal and financial situation. His uncle then told me, well, I might be able to help you out. And it was a couple days later. His uncle came back to me, said, hey, my nephew can loan you the money. And I was kind of caught off guard a little bit because it was a lot. I didn't know if I was dealing with the mafia or if I'd have to make some trips over the border or something. I didn't know.
Do you have good connections with the mafia?
No, but it felt like. So I met at his uncle's house, and the money was given to me. At no point in time did we talk about that I owed him, that I'd have to repay him. So I took it as it was like he was just helping me out because I was down.
When someone who you hardly knows hands you that kind of money, you don't assume it's a gift. Why? It's not like Christmas.
I assumed it because he never told me this is what I expect.
If someone hands you some money, you don't just take the money and say thank you and assume that, of course, he's going to give me the money. Why would he give it to you?
Like I said, I had a lot going on personally. I had a death in the family. I just wasn't dealing. I didn't think about it at the point in time.
Now, what about this car you took?
So after I had gotten the money, I ended up getting a call because I was looking for work. I got a job. I then got a hold of the plaintiff and asked him, hey, do you have a vehicle or do you know anyone? I could use the vehicle for a couple days for work, and then you can have it. I'll bring the vehicle back to you.
Oh, okay.
He said yes. So I then went over to his residence, knocked on the door. I didn't break in. I didn't take anything. And then I left and went to work. straight away. During this time I was at work, he was very like clingy and needy. Like the conversations, it was just like I was in a relationship almost. Like he was wanting a friend.
Objection.
He was wanting a friend that I didn't want.
None of this is true.
And I called his uncle and I explained, hey, what's going on? His uncle then called me back and said, well, you stole his rental car and he's saying you owe all this money. And I was unaware that it was a rental car, but I gave the uncle permission to give the rental car my phone number so they could come pick it up, and I gave it to him right away.
That's
and
not true either. Your Honor, what happened was that the rental car company had a GPS tracker on it, and they had to track him down and
They don't have
arrived
GPS
with
trackers
police.
on rental cars. That's not true.
They do. And they arrived at the scene where he was, had parked the car with the police, and they just took the
Do
car
you
back.
have a copy of the
report?
police report?
I don't have a copy of the police report because
Didn't
I didn't
happen.
file the report. I was not there for that
Yeah.
recovery, so it wasn't a report
So
filed
how
by
do
me.
you know the police came?
Because I have the conversation from the rental car company saying that
I'll
they
take a
went
look
to
at that.
retrieve the car right here. That's all the relevant.
I never saw the police at all.
We have transferred your account to FedChecks, a collections agency. FedChecks will be in contact with you within 2 weeks to request payment. Should you choose to cooperate, your credit score will not be affected. While I understand the vehicle was not in your possession when recovered, which is right, you had the car, you are 100% responsible for the vehicle during the rental period, and failure to secure this property means you are responsible for any fees as outlined here.
I'm just saying that all those fees that I owe the rental car company, still, he's liable for.
No,
because he put me in that position,
No.
which is affecting my credit score.
You definitely put him in.
I didn't know it was a rental car. He signed the rental agreement, not me.
It's pretty clear.
But
with the
why
rental fee.
did you keep the car for a few days?
Because I was going to work. I said
I understand,
told him,
but you don't work all day.
when I asked to take the car, he agreed that I could have it for a few days, that he didn't need the vehicle.
You're saying he told you that you could have the car for several days.
For 2 days.
Why would he say you can have the car for 2 days?
He didn't
if
say anything.
Exactly.
He didn't say anything, right? So why did you assume that you could just take the car?
I'm saying he didn't say anything about it was a rental.
Now the story is shifting. Now the story, you said he told you you could have it for a few days. That doesn't make any sense because he knew it was rented, even if you didn't.
That's on-
He knew it's a rental car, so why would he had a return? Why would he give you the car for a few days?
I don't know, maybe the same reason he was out of it, so maybe he doesn't remember the conversation.
I just wanted to add one final piece of evidence right here, but this is the total amount from the car fees and everything incurred. So basically, my point of presenting this today is that the $2,000 that I'm seeking payment for is
For the friendship you're trying to buy,
very
or what?
like lenient, because in fact it
So
would
the
be more than that.
$2,000 includes the repayment of the loan, what you say is a loan, and the fees that were brought to you because he took the car.
Right.
I borrowed the car.
He knew your name wasn't on the rental. You didn't, but he did. And he knew he had to return the car, and a couple of days,
Earlier,
he would have told you if
earlier
you...
you had said that
I don't
he
believe
wasn't
it.
aware that the car was due back that day, which you
I
said.
fine for the plaintiff in the sum of $2,000.
You can believe that I'll never be giving anyone else a loan again, especially without something in writing.
I'm just baffled. I don't really understand everything that just happened. The judge put his...
Thanks for watching. Now please approach the bench. The way I look at it, you have two options here. Option A, watch more Judge Jerry. Option B, watch more Jerry Springer. The choice is yours. Now get out of my courtroom. You have more clips to watch. And don't forget to subscribe.